So you have a large vacant building that normally comes with a lot of unused parking. What if there was a way that you could make money daily from those unused parking spaces? Well, in this video, I have a special guest that's going to share with you how you can do that on a property that you don't even own. So if you want to learn how to start doing this, you know what you need to do. You need to simply stand by and let's get it.
Text me and I'll text you back. Text me and I'll text you back. Text me then I'll text you back. You text me then I'll text you back. Text me then I'll text you back. TikTok, you don't stop. I will help you make your paper stack. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at now? 205-964-5243. Now you know. 205-964-5243. Now you know.
Okay, guys, before the video gets started, if you are interested in generating daily, weekly, or monthly cash flow from vacant parking spaces, normally from large buildings, that you don't even own, please stick around to the end because I'm going to share with you how you can partner with me and my guest, Evan, nationwide on these opportunities for unused parking. Now on to the video. Hello, guys. This is Ty, aka the Flip Man, and today we have a very, very special guest that started in the real estate investment world and now has an amazing business that he's developed in the trucking space. But and we'll have our reason for sharing this with you at the end if you stick around. So I have my man Evan Shelley here from truckparkingclub.com, and he's going to tell you more about it, but we're going to get into the real estate side of it first, because with real estate, a lot of people start there to build their wealth or money, or however you want to say, or riches. And then they may go into something that they really may want to do. That's why, it's out there that real estate has made more millionaires than pretty much anything over the life span of man on this planet. So enough of me yapping. What's going on, Evan?
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Well, I was doing some researching because this is a space that I'm trying to get into, the truck parking. And of course, with the algorithms of YouTube and other social media, if you watch enough of something, stuff will just start to pop up. So, I saw a thumbnail with my guy. What's the guy name from Trucking and Hustle?
Yeah, Ramel Watley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it had there, guy started truck parking something. I forget what the thumbnail said. So it struck my interest. And so I watched it, and so as I said, part of Evan's story is he started out in real estate. So I'm not gonna. I'll let him share it. So as I always like to do, Evan, if you could just give us a little background about yourself, and we'll get up to the truck parking club shortly after that. So
yeah, for sure. So background is, went to school for civil engineering and went to college for civil engineering, and had been kind of in and around real estate since my teens. I would say my grandpa was kind of like that traditional landlord, start with one house, buy another house, and over, several decades, you end up owning quite a few rental properties. And he, when I was, I guess, in my mid-teens, really walked me through the process of buying a property. And then it was a mobile home, actually, and gifted it to my brother and I. And that was my first, foray into real estate. And I kind of just caught the bug from just seeing it, seeing how it worked, seeing how rental properties work. It was just a mobile home. I mean, really wasn't worth all that much, but it still generated rent every month. And at that time it was like $200 a month or something. And that was a lot of money to a 15-year-old or 14 or whatever I was at the time. in the middle of like rural America. So I saw the power of it, and I just kind of caught the bug. And throughout my later teens, I ended up buying 1 or 2 more houses with other partners that I just went and found, and still went to college and studied civil engineering. That got me into construction. Wasn't very happy working in corporate America for various like large general contractors, small general contractors. So on the side, I started wholesaling and flipping houses, and got a little bit of traction doing that. And I was watching guys just like you. This would be back 2017. Yeah, 2017, 2018, 2019. Watching guys like you, and, you know, a couple of the other guys that, you know, kind of everybody's that's gotten into wholesaling at some point did. And what I did, I wholesaled my first couple of deals and then found partners to start flipping houses. And during that time as well, I guess I need to add is like, I went from Kentucky to Florida. So the real estate market got extremely, it became much bigger, and I would say much better market for, you know, flipping houses.
Well, what part of Florida?
Orlando.
Okay. All right.
So I then saw like the magic of like what a larger market could do, and started wholesaling and flipping houses, found partners to do that with. And then I kind of lucked into a land deal back in like 2019. I just thought it looked cheap. And I thought if I got it under contract and then I changed the entitlements on it, that I could make some money and probably not have to close. But if I did have to close, I'd be able to find the equity for it. So from that deal, didn't know really anything about entitlements at that point. I went and rezoned the property.
If you'll do this for me, which I know what it means, some of our audience may not know what entitlements mean.
Yeah, for sure. So entitlements is, I'll just tell you exactly what this property was. This property had a zoning of agricultural, which typically means you can put 1 house per acre, 1 house per 5 acres. So what I went and did, I went and rezoned it, essentially just giving that land the ability to go to 1 house per 5 acres. I took it to 4 to 7 houses per acre. So the more houses you can get on a piece of land, the more it's worth. Simply put, in most scenarios, that is going to be true. The more density you can get on the property. So I just went through the government process, the municipality process of getting approval for more houses to be built on this piece of property. And through that process, the owner of the property came to me and said, "I'll give you money to buy it back."
Oh, wow.
After I got it done. And it wasn't that much money, but, you know, at that point in my life, I was happy with anything. I had done quite a few deals, but, you know, 5 or 10 grand was still a lot of money to me at that point. And so through that deal, I learned the power of like entitlements and taking a piece of property and changing the zoning to a higher zoning, or maybe even just a different zoning, and unlocking the value. So from like 2019 into 2021, I just started trying to find the biggest land deals I could and entitling those and flipping them. I don't think we never had to actually close on one, but with the larger land deals, even if you don't close on them, you're still 6 figures deep in just due diligence.
Wow.
I'm sure you know with your deals, you're familiar with all the due diligence costs that come with large rezonings, municipalities, your attorney fees alone are, you know, going to be 50 grand by the time it's all said and done. Like we've had deals go 18 months to get a rezoning done, and it's just all your consultants, you're just racking up hours. So
yeah,
even though you don't close on some of those deals, we never had to. You still have a significant amount of risk, but fortunate to close a few of those type of deals where you take a piece of property and just increase the density by a large margin, and there's a lot of spread you can make in those. So I say all that to say, tell you the whole backstory to say, I was doing a land deal in 2021, and it was zoned industrial. and I was looking at it for truck parking. I think the original plan was not truck parking. The original plan, I think, was turned into a warehouse. And then I realized the layout just wouldn't work for it after I was working the deal and I had it under contract. So then I found out that truck parking could be very lucrative. And at that point in time, I was thinking, well, I'll just raise the equity and develop it myself. But then the municipality's like, no, we're not doing it. You have no shot. Like, you're not going to be able to do truck parking here, even though it's zoned industrial. So
who turned you on to, real quick, who turned you on to truck parking as an opportunity?
Kind of like what you've been doing. Just I called around, called all the brokers I could think of in the area, talked with anyone who knew anything about industrial. So over the course of several dozen phone calls, I kept hearing truck parking.
Wow. Okay.
And this is over a couple of years ago at this point, and they, after hearing it so many times, I was like, there's something to this. And then you run the numbers and you're like, there's definitely something to this as far as what I can buy this for, the cash flow to generate, the development cost, total development cost. You're going to have a great return.
Mm-hmm.
So when the municipality shot me down, it honestly just intrigued me more, because I'm like, okay, if I can't get it here and everyone needs it, there's a huge demand for it. What's going on in the rest of the U.S.?
Same thing.
And that put me on, a journey over the course of, a year, really getting in and around the logistics space with anyone and everyone that knew something, not just brokers, but just tech companies in logistics and supply chain, just thought leaders. I would just go to conferences and really not have a reason to be there, but just talk to people and be like, I'm really looking into this truck parking thing. Yeah. And like some of the relationships you make going to those types of conferences, even though you don't know why exactly, you don't have a person you're like trying to meet or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those, that's when things happen that you just can't predict, right? Like, you meet someone who introduces you to someone that, a month down the line that you just could never have put together if you hadn't been there. Correct. So that's what I started doing. I just started going to a ton of those events all across the U.S. Just anything that I thought was worth my time. And so from all that, I made a lot of relationships and ultimately found I'd raised some equity to go out and build truck parking. And it was a super hot market, and I just couldn't find really any deals that were like I could get the right entitlements on to either build it, or any deals that were existing that I could buy at a decent return. Because what was happening in the market, as you absolutely know, is like, well, the rents for $175 per truck per month now, and we're going to sell it at a 4 cap to you, but the rents are going to grow to $250 a truck. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to turn these 200 trucks into $250 a truck, and that's going to get you to over 10% return. And that was kind of every deal at that point in time, and people were buying them, just not my capital, the capital I'd raised. I just didn't feel comfortable doing that.
Wow. So they were selling, I guess they are selling, because as I've looked into it and just thinking long term, what can you sell it for? And I didn't, I guess my research wasn't deep enough. I couldn't come up with this is going to be a little over some people had a cap rate that the industry standard for full price. Let me just say, for what's considered full price. So you're saying people were willing to pay 4% caps?
Yeah, 4 or 5 cap. Yeah, but that's when rates were, at whatever they were. I mean, the Fed rate was essentially 0 at that point.
Okay. Okay. So it was
2021.
Okay.
Yeah. Not now. Now. No. The market has very much changed now with rates where they are. Now I haven't priced one out in a long time, or a while, but you're gonna get a much better return. I would think it'd be a 7 or an 8 cap.
Just 7, 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, for like a stabilized property, but so they did it. They were doing it with apartments a lot too, right? At that point in time, where it was like, well, you're getting $1,000 per unit now, but if you turn this 100 units, your market rate price is 1,300. You just turn your unit. So buy it now at a 4 cap, and but it's going to be an 8 cap or whatever. You know, that was pretty common with apartments, but they were doing that with truck parking too, and just couldn't find the right deal. And so continue to make connections, stay in the space, because I just knew there was something to it.
So you were only trying to buy something. Well, I say only, but one of your main focuses was to find something existing, and hopefully it was a, you know, obviously you evaluated to create some type of value add to whatever they had going on, because you thought you maybe could run it better or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, buying existing, maybe stabilized property, increase efficiencies in operations, and ultimately profit from that, get your return, increase your return from that. Just never could find the right deal, because you would have these deals that were like along like a residential subdivision that would sell for like a great return, but then you're thinking like, okay, I'll pay $2 million for this piece of property, and then a month later you could get shut down by the municipality because all the neighbors are annoyed. So those were selling at better prices for a reason, because people, they understood what was coming, or like what could happen. May never happen, but it could happen. So, you know, just staying in and around the space, I knew there was something to it. I knew there had to be a way to get into the space and scale quickly. And, you know, after talking with a lot of people and throwing down around ideas with a lot of people, ultimately came up with, you know, Truck Parking Club through trying to figure out the best way to scale truck parking in a way that leverages technology and kind of minimizes your risk in terms of, you know, there's municipality issues and all these things that can come from it. And there's scalability issues from operations. These aren't apartments by any means. The operations are different. You know, with apartments, it's like you can go online, you can go on YouTube and find out pretty quickly how to either learn how to operate apartments or put together a team that can operate apartments. For truck parking, that does not exist. And so operationally, it is very, very difficult to scale. So my thought was like, kind of like Airbnb. It's like, how do you kind of outsource those operations? So like short-term rentals, it's very difficult to scale short-term rentals without like an Airbnb. So it's kind of the, you know, it's the same concept with truck parking. Let the property owners, or, you know, someone manage those place by place. Typically the property owner or the lessee, and then create a platform that all truckers are going to book parking and facilitate that transaction, do reservation management, do customer service, and ultimately have a marketplace, you know. And that's kind of the, like how it all came together. A lot of things fell into place, and been very fortunate with how things have rolled out.
Well, let's do this. Let's establish the issue of why truck parking as a business even is a potential opportunity, obviously with the right property, right location. So most people may not know this until it's brought to your attention, the struggles that truckers have parking. You know, when we talk about trucks, we're talking about 18-wheelers in most cases, semis. And where because they're legally, they can only drive so many hours per day. So you got to get off the road, and you just can't park them anywhere. Now, I don't know, and you may know better, but from my research over the last year or so, they say for every 11 trucks on the road, there's only one legal parking space. Could you say that's pretty accurate or in the ballpark?
So that is the statistic that is used. I believe that's Owner Operators Independent Drivers Association that has that statistic, or maybe it's the ATA. But I believe that some version of that number is pretty accurate. somewhere in that ballpark is pretty accurate. I think another number that is thrown around a lot is 600,000 space shortage of truck parking. Truck parking spaces, 600,000 spaces short.
Wow.
So it's just a huge amount. I mean, whether it's 500,000 or a million or whatever it, exactly is, it's a lot. And, to build, you understand development, like to go out and build a couple hundred spaces is going to take you really beginning to end, probably 2 years. Maybe, I mean, depending, it could be more. But what if, you didn't have to go through that and you could take your buddy Johnny's empty parking lot that is located correctly in the right place with, we won't go into like all the crazy specifics, but like, what if you could just leverage already existing space? That's kind of the thought of like why this works. It's just going faster.
Yeah, similar to Airbnb. You're leveraging already existing space for people to do whatever, I guess, to sleep, to vacation, or to versus a hotel or whatever. So similarly is what a similar strategy is where a lot of people are definitely using your platform to take advantage of just because we know of just huge parking lots that are just vacant and been vacant for years. You've grew up seeing this. Some people watching this, maybe in their early 20s, have passed by this parking lot, maybe 4 or 5 acres, and they've never known the business, any type of business or anything to be there or whatever. And so somebody's paying taxes on that every year, and it's not generating them any income. So those could be potential opportunities. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to put this content out there with Evan, and I'm glad he was willing to share. So if someone sees something like that, what would you say the steps would be to try to from beginning to end to try to put that together, and then obviously use your platform to service it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, how I would look at it, and then I would just add to that we get a decent amount of people just call our customer service line and just ask us, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this property? My uncle's property. This is what, he has an empty lot. Like, what do you think? And we'll give our opinions on stuff like that. But I would say, like, let's say you have an empty mall or something like that near you. If it were me, I would go find that mall owner or manager, whoever's running it, and just talk to them about, hey, we believe this is a good location to park trucks. We can license this from you and park 10 trucks here. It's going to make you this amount of money. You're not using it. And when you do want to use it, you sell it to an apartment developer, you sell it to a mall developer, whatever. We'll just end the licensing agreement. It's no more complicated than that. The issue that, let's say they say yes, and they're like, yeah, that's fine, 10 spaces, you handle it, but if there's any issues, we're going to shut it down. That's probably going to be the conversation you're going to have. Like, we don't want any issues, but if you can make us $1,000 a month or whatever the number is, with really no stress because it's not being used, great. So they say yes. Your next issue is going to be getting the trucks to find you, right? And we're not even bringing up the municipality side of it, but I'll give the bad news at the end. But so then you have to have trucks find you, and I was kind of wrong about this. You would like you think because there's a truck parking shortage that you just you put a stripe in a parking lot and they're gonna know it's they're gonna come find you, and it's not actually that easy. First off, if you're just calling truckers at random, they're gonna think you're a scam. Like, You know, these are all the things that we dealt with in the very beginning of this business. It's like, well, this seems like scammy. I've never really heard of something like this. You've got this parking in this empty lot. But then if you can create that credibility, which we've done at Truck Parking Club, then you're going to get customers that know that there's parking in front of the old Planet Fitness or whatever the case is, you know. And once they find out about it, then every time they come through there on their over the road trips, they're going to park there. It's just you need thousands of trucks aware of that there to be able to have constant influx of bookings. But once they know it's there, then you know, ultimately you should have a pretty steady business. And then on top of that, you know, it's just managing those bookings too. You need a payment processor. You need reservation management. So if you have 10 spaces, you need something that's keeping up with those spaces and those reservations. And you really need customer service, which, you know, if you have one lot, you can do that yourself. You don't really need to outsource any of those things. I mean, I've seen people run truck parking lots on like PayPal and Venmo.
Wow.
I wouldn't recommend it, but you know, they will. I've seen it. But you know, Truck Parking Club does all of that. We have all those things kind of combined into one easy to use platform, and on top of that, we have, you know, tens of thousands of truckers that are looking at our platform all the time. We're to the point now where we can add a new location, not market it at all, and get a booking within 24 hours. Where, and it's pretty surreal to see it now, but it's like, we'll add a new location, not even do any of our traditional marketing, and get a booking the next day. And it just shows you the power of like having a marketplace where people are just on there checking. They see you on Facebook. They're like, I'm going to pull this up. And they're like, oh, that's down the street from me. I'm going to start parking my truck there because it's more convenient, or it's cheaper, or I'm sitting, you know, at a pilot 11 hours away. And I think that's my next stop tomorrow in that direction, you know? So we've been able to put all that together. But I mean, I think there's definitely a case to be made where you don't necessarily need Truck Parking Club to do it. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Like, I think it's possible. I think you're going to have to work really hard to get that initial customers, and then kind of get a system set up around it that, you know, to handle everything. If you want to actually run like a legit business and keep up with everything properly, and you're not just out there like taking $20 bills for people, you can do it however you want. But I would say, you know, it's possible. I don't know why. I think the big win here for someone is to leverage our platform and go out and find 30 lots. You're going to make a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like that's the way where you're not worried about as much about the little things. Like all our payment processor and everything, that's all automated. Our systems are all automated, so you don't have to worry about billing and things of that nature. We have it all automated. So go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you what percentage, if you had, like we say, a former movie theater standalone, but you know, obviously it probably has 2 or 3 acres out there in front of the building for parking. What percentage, what range would you say you would offer? Because if you do a license agreement with the owner instead of just leasing the space, what percentage would you offer them of the? I guess it'll be based off gross income collected.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I know it's not something I think about a lot in that manner. I'll just tell you how we do it at Truck Parking Club, and then kind of roll into your question. So how our model works for someone like that, let's say that owner came directly to us. They, in a situation like that, 2 to 3 acres, in a place like a old mall or movie theater, you're in those types of areas, you're not going to jam pack that 2 or 3 acres. You're gonna probably spread it out pretty wide. You're not going to have, you know, trucks just jam packed in there. It's just, you want to get shut down. That's the best way to do it. You know,
you want it to look like they occasionally park there.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it's like you've actually thought about it a little bit, to where you're not trying to just squeeze a ton of trucks in there, and that's how, you know, I would suggest do it. But let's say it's, you know, 30 spaces or something. For someone like that, we would probably look at like a 75-25 split, and we handle all your back end. So really, that person, that property owner, is going to look at really, they're just going to be concerned about, I have 20 bookings right now. I have all the information for the 20 bookings in my dashboard. How many trucks are out there? There's 22 trucks out there, or there's 18 trucks out there, and like keeping up with what's going on. And then you'll have like general maintenance of like picking up trash and things of that nature. And that's kind of all that they'll need to do. In our experience, there's this weird stereotype that it's like highly intense. And that's not necessarily true, especially for over the road guys. They just need a place to park, and they just want to get out, like get in, take their 10, get out. So yeah, to answer your question, that's how I would structure the beginning of the deal. And then that would be, so you have to think about it like, if you're like a person in there, and let's say Johnny's Truck Parking Club, and they're working directly with the parking owner. You know, that's how I would structure a deal, something like that. If you're going to do all of it, you know, if you're going to handle every single bit of it, that's probably the deal you're going to have to cut. Some form of that. If you go to the property owner and you say, Mr. Property Owner, I want to license this, no leases, no commitments. If you sell this thing, we'll be gone tomorrow, you know, and you don't have to worry about operations. You don't have to worry about anything. Then you can get pretty aggressive. I mean, you'd probably give them a third or less, just handing them money, where you're just handling every single bit of it, from the ground to the reservation management to getting trucks there, marketing to get trucks there. That's how I would do it, something like that, because they have no real, I mean, they will have no overhead in that entire situation, right? So that's probably how I would try to structure it, something like that.
What if to get into some of the bad on it, I guess the first thing is we're using a mall, a movie theater, so those are zoned retail, right? So obviously they're not zoned for trucking, you know, industrial, light industrial, whatever. So I guess, you know, that understanding will be had with the owner also. Obviously, if the city, the municipality starts to complain, obviously that pretty much ends it unless we get some type of permission from them to do it. So I guess in the initial conversation, in the initial contact, that conversation needs to be had if they're entertaining even doing it.
Yeah, you know, I think this is going to I truly believe what we're doing is going to evolve into something very, very impactful for trucking and truck parking, because, you know, this is probably the first discussion I've had about this openly on like a podcast, to be honest. But you're like the perfect person to do it with, you know. Like I truly think that, just based on, I mean, it's cool. Like I was watching your videos just a few years ago, doing some of these same things, and now applying the things I've learned into kind of what I'm doing now. So it's really come full circle. But there's a huge truck parking shortage. The property exists. Municipalities are very stern on allowing this stuff. I think with enough scale, they will ultimately back down on a lot of this stuff. I think ultimately it will begin to change. I don't think there's another option, to be honest. Like, I think this is one of the fastest ways to like relieve this issue. Trucks are parking there anyway. So yeah, the municipality can shut you down, no doubt. But also, I would ask that municipality, where are these trucks going to go? Do you want them on your shoulder of your interchange? Yeah. You know, there's wrecks that happen all the time throughout the U.S. daily. I think there was a stat on that, like trucks parking. I would need the exact quote, but it's like some kind of like daily statistic where a car is hitting a truck on the shoulder, like almost I think it's every day or something. Mm-hmm. So it creates an issue. So if they're not parking here, where are they parking, right? And I think ultimately, with enough scale, like, you can create impactful change that helps the trucker find parking, and then convinces the municipality that this parking lot is probably better than the shoulder of the interstate that runs through their town or county. I think there's a decent argument for that. And we'll see what happens, but I do think we'll create some type of change. And I would compare it to like Airbnb had a big struggle with short-term rentals. I think they still kind of do, right? Mm-hmm. And they created some change there. And then Uber with taxis, that was a huge thing. And they created some change there. And I think about this business pretty similarly, in the sense of there's for us, there's a higher mission of just getting more spaces for truckers. And obviously there's, we make money while we're doing it. But in doing that, we push the limits of like what's allowed. And yeah, I've never talked about this on a podcast, like, because it's just not great to like, it's not great to bring up, because then you're going to ruffle people's feathers. But I think at some point it's worth, it's worth talking about. And
well, I'm all about thinking outside the box. It's a tremendous problem, right? The issues, the problems within the problem, like there's so much space available, but it's not zoned correctly for it. But it's unused space, and a lot of it's unused space for years or whatever. So it presents if you can penetrate certain markets, get the space, get some time into it as far as the number, it's a tremendous opportunity, and you're not limited to where you live, is one of the things that I love about it also. Yeah. Is there if you want to get someone really inspired, maybe it's someone that's already in your network, or someone that you know of that's like doing this, like, I know we're talking about it, but like, this guy's doing it like what I'm talking about, and this is how much, and you don't have to give an exact number or whatever, but some type of inspiration to like say, hey, this is what's possible if you do it.
Yeah. So we have 100 properties on our platform. Call them property members, all across the U.S. We're the largest network of instantly reservable truck parking in the U.S., which 100, I believe to be not that many spaces. It's just we're early on, and we've grown pretty quickly. But with some of the people on our platform, we've made them tens of thousands of dollars by helping facilitate transactions through Truck Parking Club. And I think having a few of these locations in strategic places could vary. I mean, we have single locations that have made tens of thousands of dollars. So I would expect with some of the stuff we talked about today, getting a handful of locations, there's no reason why with some hard work you can't make tens of thousands of dollars doing this. And I truly believe that, no doubt. And that adds up. And it's really, the number of properties is limitless. I mean,
Yeah,
not limitless, but hundreds and hundreds. It's a lot. So,
all right. So if someone was going to start scouting, what things will matter as far as location to the freeway, the size of the city that it's in, because some of it's going to be proximity to a freeway, and it really won't matter as much as far as population density. And then population density does matter, and it's not being close to a freeway. If you can get an idea, just if someone's going to scout a location, what would be some of the ideal locations?
well, I'll tell you the easiest way to like know is, where do you see the trucks parked in your town? Like, where do you see the trucks parked that is not in an appropriate place in your town?
Okay.
Like, yeah, on the shoulder at the exit that you get on going to work or coming home or whatever. Where do you see those trucks parked? Then find the next closest lot to that. And that's probably going to be a great bet. That's probably your very easiest way to find your first property. Outside of that, yeah, it's going to be a large lot just off of an exit with easy access in and out. So part of the stuff that you're not going to think about not being in the space is like, if the access isn't great, then you might as well, even if it's a big lot, if you can't get in and out of it, a big truck get in and out of it, then you're going to have, it's pretty useless as well. But just off major interstates, where a lot of traffic, there's always a lot of traffic, and not just a lot of traffic, but a lot of truck traffic that you see. Finding lots close to that. Now, I want to add something just before I forget. Like, not all these lots are zoned properly, right? Like, on our platform, most of these lots are zoned correctly. I mean, I would venture to say you can make the case that all of them are. There's probably some that are on the edge, and I guess the property owner gets away with it. But most of them are zoned like they're either being used for truck parking for a long time or they're close. Like, I'm not out here like trying to like advocate that, we should put these like in like, strip mall parking lots everywhere. I'm not necessarily advocating that. I'm advocating using shut down properties that are good for truck parking. So I just want to make that clear. It's going to be very obvious if it's good for truck parking or not, because the place is going to be completely shut down, and there's not going to be any like foot traffic or anything like that.
Correct.
But yeah, I would say, close to major interstates. I was trying to think about some of the properties we have on Truck Parking Club that are some of our best ones. I mean, another thing to think about is like, we have locations on our platform that have like 2 spaces, 1 space. So it doesn't have to be huge lots.
That's what I was going to ask you. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up. Sorry.
So here's another thing to think about with that is like, we have a location in Newark, New Jersey, and it's 1 space, right? Now, that particular space I'm talking about hasn't rented out yet, but it will. And when it does, that guy is going to make $500 a month for 1 space. That is 15 by 75. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy. So, and that's a monthly space. If he does it monthly, if it ends up being daily, but think about that.
What on the East Coast, it's you can get better rates because of lack of space, right?
Exactly. So those rates are pretty insane, but it's very real life. Like those are real numbers, and that's what it rents for. West Coast is just as bad or worse.
Mm.
Like Port of LA. So you're like, guys can think about that too. Like just a single space that maybe up against like beside a warehouse that your buddy owns, that, isn't being used for anything. Work a deal with him and park one truck there and make a few $100s a month. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer as well, right? So,
well, yeah, people are glad to get a house that they're cash flowing $400 or $500.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
you still got to deal with the tenants and all that goes with it. So, yeah.
yeah. So, and you're going to be dealing with people inherently, right? Even though it's a truck, but there is some dealing with people, but it's a lot of times you have this space of property that is gravel, pavement, or concrete, and a lot of times that's it, right? Like, so there's a lot less issues in terms of upkeep and things of that nature. It's probably going to be less friction than your average rental property, which I still own a few rental properties as well, and there are things that you have to deal with that. So yeah, I would think about that too. Single spaces aren't. You get a monthly tenant in there, it's real money, and you get 10 of those around your city. That's some, like, depending on what city you're in, of course, but that can be some really big money if you're located correctly, if you have access right and things of that nature. So I mean, and I'm sure, like, when you get bring some of your guys doing this, like, they're gonna think of stuff I haven't thought of.
Oh yeah, it's basically space arbitrage. You know what I'm saying? Just you leveraging the space,
yeah,
at its finest, for something that's a huge problem. And again, once you're aware, you start to look at real estate differently. Once you're made aware of a different way to use real estate, you start to look at it differently as you pass by it or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose of this video.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a different way to think about it. And I think what we've done a pretty good job of is, like, we're just focused on parking trucks, right? That's it. Nothing. I mean, we're not looking for RVs. We're not looking for any of this other stuff. Just trucks. And that's why I think we've gotten this big adoption so quickly with trucks. Is just like, we're not branding. We're branding ourselves. I mean, everything is trucks, right? Like, everything we have is just, so we're not confusing our customer on, like, what we're doing here. And so we just, like, it's just very clear from every angle in our business. So we've just been able to attract a lot of trucks to our platform. But yeah, I mean, I think it could be pretty substantial for someone that takes the time to get to know the business, and understands it. The issue with this business right now is there's just not a handbook on it. And maybe Ty, you should be that guy. You know what I mean?
Hey, well, the thing is, like you said before, is that there really wasn't a like, if I wanted to get into apartments, there's just so many directions I could go into it, from paid training to trying to just network to meet other people to do it or whatever. And I guess that exists with this, but not in the sense that it is not going to be easy to find. But, so I reached out to you once I saw that interview. You were, you already knew who I was, which I was shocked, so I get that. But I didn't. And so, so now that gives me, because I've had an opportunity to pull the trigger on a couple of pieces of property, and I'm glad I didn't, because it was going to be capital intense. Not saying that still can't work, and I'll probably still do that at some point, but I think this is a better way of getting into it, you know, with a less risk monetarily, and to get to learn the business. And then if, you know, you want to spend the capital on something larger because the location is so killer, then you move forward. Knowing you now helps a lot because you're in it. Like, you know, as I was watching your interview, you're 15, 16 hours a day into this daily. It's all you think about, you know,
That's
from
right.
what you said in the interview. So
that's right. Do whatever it takes, right?
oh yeah. Oh, that's the only way it's gonna work.
That's right. That's right, man. And I want to say, like, I appreciate all the value you give away, man. Like, I know your value through your videos for me a few years ago allowed me to make the money I needed to grow into the person and the businessman that I am now. There's no doubt. So you provide a ton of value to people through your channel, and that's, you know, I mean, you've got one right here for sure that you provide a lot of value to.
I try, man. I try. I really appreciate the comments, man. All right, so man, we almost an hour in, man. I know time is money. Just tell people how they can find you, and maybe some encouragement on if they're interested in doing something like this as far as leveraging space or space arbitrage, if we want to call it. What can they do?
Yeah, so I'm personally really active on LinkedIn. That's one easy way to get me. I'm not really super active on any of the other socials. We do have Truck Parking Club on all the other socials, at Truck Parking Club on all the other socials. So you could reach out through there and that message will get to me. Another very easy way to get to me is to just go to truckparkingclub.com and call the customer service number, 888-899-PARK. So it's 888-899-7275. You're going to get our customer service, and just let them know that you're calling for Evan Shelley. You saw him on on Flipman, and I'll know to get back to you, because I'll still talk to people as much as I can, and try to provide value as much as I can through that route. And then there's a contact us page on the website as well that you could check out. Put your information in there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can with that. Those are really the best ways. And, you know, this is, you know, we went 50 minutes or so here, and haven't been able to cover every part of it. And I don't want people to get the impression that you can take a piece of property outside your mom's house and park a truck there. I just want to make that very clear. Like, we don't condone anything like that. We're taking underused space. There's not a lot of foot traffic. It's not near houses. That needs to be utilized in some manner that's not being used. And we believe truck parking is a good fit for that. So I've had a lot of people ask me about the residential thing. So I just want to make that clear.
Oh no, I was about to say that's one of the reasons they don't have parking. They can't park it at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, man. Oh, you know what? Just one other thing. And you and I talked about it. Didn't you give me an example of a guy that had a McDonald's? He was a franchisee that he was allowing parking.
That's right.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So we have a McDonald's on the platform. I'll tell you the full story really quickly. So we went to a trucking show called the Mid-America Trucking Show. And through that show in Louisville, Kentucky, we met a ton of people, and kind of the word got out what we were doing. And long story short, someone told this McDonald's owner about Truck Parking Club, and that it's a platform you could go to rent parking. And he was already parking trucks outside the McDonald's. He wasn't parking them. He just had extra space, and trucks were using it for parking. And he had to go in and like repave that lot through the use over the years. And he was like, I just put out, you know, whatever it was, 50 or 100 grand to repave all this lot. I would like to figure out how to like create something to like at least make my money back, because what it ended up happening is people were just parking trucks there and not even using the McDonald's. They were just getting an Uber and leaving. And so now we took that McDonald's location and turned it into hourly pay to park. And now the truckers come in, they pay for their 10-hour break, and they use the McDonald's, and then they head on down the road. So that was one example of just this property owner took it. Now he's going to recoup the money for that property for all the use it gets. It just gets a ton of use from trucks at that location in particular. So one example of just like formalizing truck parking at that location where they were already parking, and you know, he was going to turn it back into car parking if he couldn't find a way to like maintain, like keep up with all the bookings, because we handle everything. I mean, at that location, like there's very little stuff that he does. We put the signs out. We handle all the bookings, payment processing. He just gets money sent him every week.
Also, I'd say, what's the pay schedules every week from you all?
He requests it every week. I know that guy personally. He requests every week, but we actually have it set up as it's every payment. For his, yeah, it's just easier with Stripe, man. I mean, that the money comes in, it splits the money based on our arrangement with our property member. The money goes out, and it's just automated.
Oh, wow. So you get the payments. Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Didn't know that.
Well, then, yeah, see, yeah, we need to talk. We need to keep talking. We'll
we'll pull everything. Yeah. You know, we mentioned also about like I'm somewhat, you know, really deep in the self-storage and that kind of stuff as far as finding opportunities. A lot of those are, you know, the buildings that are there don't take up the amount of actual space that's there, right? Yeah. Obviously, the ground has to be, you know, prepared for that 80,000 pounds. But in a lot of situations, that may be an opportunity for someone to reach out to a self-storage owner to see if they would lease, you know, that unused space. Because it's probably going to, just again, it's still going to depend on what it is, because some of those are in residential areas. So it's still going to depend on that. But that may be an opportunity to reach out to some of those RV park owners and or self-storage owners also. Do you have anyone on the platform that's doing that?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah, we have self-storage guys on the platform. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to find space. A lot of those guys have extra space that's just sitting there that's perfect for parking a few trucks on. So that would be one very easy way. Typically the zoning lines up really well. Anything like that is a no-brainer. You're not going to really have any zoning issues or anything like that on locations like that. So that's really mission oriented for us. That's right down straight away for what we look for, those types of people like that, those types of business owners like that.
So do you all do you naturally reach out to owners of property, or you just let it come to you? Do you have a team that just does the grunt work of trying to find space?
Yeah. So to date, you know, most of our properties on the platform have come to us. Out of 100, it's probably 90 have come to us through finding us through podcasts or like mainstream logistics and transportation media, articles, social media, coming through us through all those channels, because we've created a brand around it, right? We've created like a place for them to go online and submit their property in real time. I mean, that's another thing I guess I could have said with people to reach out. You can go to truckparkingclub.com right now and add a location. We have to approve it internally, and we will talk with you about it. So you can't just submit anything. But you can submit properties in real time, and most of our properties get submitted that way. Like they find us online somewhere and they come and submit it, and we have a place for them to go, and we have the whole process from beginning to end set up for them to where they can easily transact truck parking on our platform. What were you gonna say?
What are no-nos? Like you say, well, yeah, they got the space, but I don't think this is good for our platform. What are some of the common things you know that you see?
I've seen some stuff where trying to think. One that comes to mind is like, there was a property in Dallas that this guy had just like this little motel that like didn't even really seem clear to like park trucks on. And like, I didn't even know how you were going to park a truck there. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but it just doesn't, something doesn't seem right. So we didn't allow that location on the platform. But yeah, you see some weird stuff where it's like, I don't even know how you're going to get a truck in and out of here. And you know, we're not, you know, we're very conscious about like what we approve. I mean, we do not approve people a decent amount just because we care more about the quality on the platform than we do about just getting a space. Something like that, access where it just doesn't make any sense. You're not going to be able to get a truck in and out. So on occasion you get people that try to submit like grass lots. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was just about to get into that. I was going to ask you, someone may be watching this right now. They have 10 acres, zone light industrial, right on the freeway, but it's all grass. So how much money are they going to have to spend to probably get that ready for truck parking, you think?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I know you don't know because there's other factors that go into it, but I know you're a civil engineer, so you can give a range.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that's going to go into it for every location, depending upon. I mean, it's really going to depend on, you know, if you go through the development process, that municipality's got you, right? They're going to tell you what we want or don't want. And some of these locations are, you know, stabilize the ground and put down asphalt millings and drain the ground to where you can drain it into some type of a retention pond and you're good. Yeah. That's best case scenario. And then you're going to have municipalities that are going to require everything from underground utilities to sub-base to asphalt to curb. And that's going to be your worst case scenario. Yeah. And then that's when the numbers start to not make as much sense. Yeah. So it's really going to depend on your municipality for those scenarios. And, you know, for something like 10 acres, best case, I mean, I hate to give a best case because there's so many factors, but like a few $100,000 maybe. Yeah, a few $100,000 is probably going to be.
And that's just with gravel, right?
Yeah. No, if you got to do full scale development for 10 acres, you're looking at a few $1 million.
Yeah, a few $1 million. Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? Like that's the whole point of like this company is how do you get around that and not waste the 2 years and millions of dollars? You go find the parking lot that's already sitting there.
Already sitting there, yeah.
Yeah, and you get around a lot of those types of issues because it's already there. So, boom,
there it is, man. So, man, Evan, I really appreciate this, man. I've been looking forward to this since we scheduled it last week. We've only been knowing each other like a week or whatever. And I'm gonna probably be you're in Miami right now. I know you're in Orlando, but you're down in Miami.
Yeah, I live in Miami now.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably be down in a couple of weeks. So
I can't wait. We'll have to
I'm gonna schedule because I know you travel a lot, you know, promoting your biz or whatever. So hopefully it'll be around the time that you're there.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. But again, guys, boom, try to provide as much value. This is another way to look at real estate that definitely is unused and is an opportunity for you to possibly generate some cash flow. So we really appreciate Evan from truckparkingclub.com for sharing his story, his knowledge. Boom. So you stuck around and you want to get involved on how you can generate daily, weekly, or monthly cash from unused parking spaces for big rig trucks. So text the word RIG, R-I-G, to 205-964-5243. And then that link that you'll receive back will explain in more detail on how you can submit properties, how you can talk to owners, and so on. So again, text the word RIG to 205-964-5243. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and now Threads. Also, if you're here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, tap the little bell so you are alerted whenever I upload new videos like this one and when I go live on Thursdays. Thanks, and we will see you guys on the flip side.
Text me and I'll text you back. Text me and I'll text you back. Text me then I'll text you back. You text me then I'll text you back. Text me then I'll text you back. TikTok, you don't stop. I will help you make your paper stack. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at now? 205-964-5243. Now you know. 205-964-5243. Now you know.